Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Again, hi everyone. And wow, what a week! It's been 2 weeks, I believe. That is my last record of any sort of YouTube clips. Yeah, been busy with work yet, and trying to get thinking about prospect of what is the future of myself, looking seeing what kind of opportunity that I can find in the future. There are a few great opportunity, and there's one that I'm very eager to actually participate in. Running that is just pretty much bear on the run. Yeah. Well, today, as the clip said, is nothing related much of the banknotes collection or numismatic, but in somewhat we're talking around similar so-called cousinry sphere, or I would like to say we're talking about part of the investment. We're investing on certain items, certain antiquities. Yeah, banknotes, for me, is a mix thing. Personally, it's a very mixed item for me. Having to collect certain items because I love it. Collecting certain prospect of the design or something that I love, that it captures my mind and so forth. So yeah, I bought it and it's my collection. Other than that, sometimes again, it's also perspective on other people. I do collect all sorts of items that is considered very valuable or has value added in as time passes. As time passes by. That is why I sometimes go into other variations of collections. Small but small, but yet it captures the collection behavior or collection part of being my hobby. So it just gives me a lot of sensory of pleasure on collection, yet knowing it that I can actually sell back with profit, sell back to other maybe collectors that think consider it their niche. And yeah, so today I'm probably gonna talk about a little bit more a general view of my point of types of collections I do collect and what I actually bought today as the indication of the clip today. So we'll go on to that first part, which is what new input I've got for my investment, rather than collection, but investment, purely on investment. You know, one of the most basic fundamental of investing is the most conservative, the most um, bread and butter in investment is trading gold. In the old days, gold was already in high value. It is considered a commodity of wealth uh, in most majority of the countries in the world, particularly in European civilization. Uh, Perceiving it as the wealth or a form of tax using gold was intertwined. What did the Roman did using gold, using silver, and etc. Of course, European more profoundly throughout history using gold as the ultimate material for wealth. Well, vice versa in China, ancient China, that is, gold was not perceived to be more valuable. The most valuable so-called rare earth material is silver. Silver is vastly more valuable than gold in ancient China. Of course, um, that is a perspective of the civilization. But the material wise, of course, scientifically, we know that gold has less material than silver. That is why we, in a modern world, more globalized world, we trade gold more than silver in any country in the world. But during the time, the ancient time, where civilization was much more, uh, how do I say, isolated, like China, India, Roman empires, Aztecs, Incas. They were much more isolated than more communicative regularly. Uh, Tendency, the value of material is different from one country to another, from one civilization to another. One another great example is like Japan. Japan do recognize the value of silver. They also value gold in a certain extent. But through taxation, they didn't use silver to collect tax. Another way, during the feudal time in Japan, they collected grain as a commodity to pay tax, or so-called tribute, because rice grains are considered food supply to feed the people, the citizens, and especially the warlords, the armies, or soldiers. So that's how it runs in the days of feudal period in Japan, before gold became a commodity as rare than silver. Of course, even in feudal times, gold was already considered a valuable asset because the quantity was rare, but they do not use it as a trading, monetary trading, for economic purposes, but more a reserve of wealth. Yeah, most part of it. So today, I'm just gonna talk about personally what I've got. So yeah, here we go. Today there was an event. Normally I don't buy gold. Mostly I spend my money on combining my hobby, my pleasure, and investment, which normally translated to uh, banknote collection. Certain banknotes I'm willing to collect for my own personal keep. Certain banknotes I'm willing to keep it for a while for my own pleasure, and then I'm going to sell it. As time goes by, it matures. But you all hear that many times from my previous videos. So yeah, I'm not gonna stress that part more. If you like to know more of my explanation, do go back to my older videos or older clips to find my further detailed explanation. But from time to time, I will revise my thinking. Being a human being, we change our minds when we perceive to get further information or different approach on things. That's the meaning of progressive. Being a progressive. So yeah, I've bought a so-called smallest amount of gold in the market. Well, the reason that I actually got gold is because I use my credit card. In my country, in Malaysia, if you use your credit card, you get points. I think most countries in the world do that. You have point systems. You spend, you get points. So I accumulated almost 1 year of points, and every once a year, once a year in my town or my neighborhood, or I would consider it as my city, they will have an event so-called treat fair. We call it the treat points. This point system is called the treats, like a trick or treats, trick or treats. So it's a treats point. So they had a treats fair where they gather a collaboration of all the major retail brand shops. They start selling from electronics to massage chairs or whatsoever. into one single location for you to use your points to trade in for the products. So rather than spending money, you've already got reward yourself because you spend your credit card. Of course, you have to be responsible after spending your credit card, charge it. You have to pay back to the bank. You are in debt to the bank for using a credit card. But the point is you use the credit card to purchase an item, you are rewarded with the point. So you have accumulated the points, which I had accumulated a certain degree of points, would allow me to redeem, spend my points on getting items, hairdressing, air dryer, air fryer, pan, bottle containers, a blender, even an air conditioner, you name it, they have it. A massage chairs, outdoor equipment, barbecue pits, whatever. Even traveling. I think one of the best one I saw is because this bank is quite big. It's called Maybank, or officially the name is called the Malayan Banking Corporation. I mean, the old days they call it the Malayan Bank or the Malayan Banking Corporation. So now they have rebranded themselves quite many times and became Maybank. Is a Malaysia's number one bank, commercial bank in Malaysia, and is widely used in Southeast Asia. Was one of the noticeable bank in Southeast Asia. I did say that it's the largest bank in based on its asset volume wise, is the number one in Malaysia. I have participated in that bank, and being such a big bank, they actually opened their own insurance company under the umbrella of Maybank or Malayan Banking. It's called Attica. I think that's one of the best. You have to pay your insurance, or you purchase insurance. You have to pay monthly of your so-called charge of bills of the insurance every month, and put into the pool. So one of the great strategy I find that you can spend your points you had to pay your insurance. I think that's a bonus. I think it's one of the best way to do it. Let's say that you spend 6 months using your credit card to charge and pay for your insurance. You get points from there, and then when it comes to this point fair once a year, you can actually top up your monthly payment with the points. Basically, a 12 months point, you only pay 6 months, and the other 6 months is from your points. So it's like getting a almost like 50% or more or less, depends on your coverage of your premium. You actually offset your payment, reducing your actual paying of the insurance. I think it's one of the best deals of spending the points to pay your insurance, buying an insurance policy from the sister company of the bank, the commercial bank. I think it's one of the brilliant ideas, but I'm not an economist or so forth, so I won't say much beyond that. I'm not professional. It's just that from the ground, as being a so-called consumer that has lack of information, would perceive right in front of my face without asking any further details. So, but hey, people got points. You spend your credit card, you got points. Hey, gotta do something with your points, because if you don't spend your points, it will be burned. It became obsolete because each of the points that you had, or the time that you have accumulate that specific time, there's an expiration date on those points. It will be burned. So gotta spend the points or not. So in a nutshell, I mean, spend the points, because getting a product redeemed from the points is basically getting free stuff from the effort that you have used the credit card. Okay, so yeah, one of my thing that I thought, hey, what should I get? when I was at the fair. One of it is, you know, thinking of getting uh, hair dryers or what, and etc. So last year, almost the same period, like July, August. There's the fair last year. It happens once a year. I got my mom a so-called, what did they call that? A dry. It's not a dryer. It's ironing. Yeah, sorry, I can't remember. I thought it was a hair dryer or a vacuum cleaner. I believe I remember is I got her a new ironing uh, uh, machine. I would like to say the iron. I call it the iron. Basically, in the household, we call it the iron. So yeah, the old iron has been very. We have used it for more than 10, 15 years. It start to tear, wear and tear. So getting a new one is one of my best decisions. Spending my points, but it wasn't that much point to spend. I still have a number of points that last year, so I spent it on jewelry. Last year I did spend a huge amount of money, points on jewelry. It's a special gift to my partner, I would say. She likes it. Oh, she loves it. I That's what I heard. What she said. So that's good. So to me, I got some jewelry that normally I don't buy using my own hard money, but since I can get those jewelry with my points through my rewards of using my credit card, well, it's a bonus to me. So this year I didn't buy any jewelry. I didn't buy any jewelry or so forth. So I think of commodities or what should I spend on. I don't need any electronic items. Most of them are still good. You know, so in the end, I was thinking, being a collector and investor on banknote collection, coins, some few stamps and so forth. So it just gives me a click. Why not buy gold? I mean, I never buy a solid gold and keep it like a gold bar or nugget. So in the end, I make that decision to spend almost my entire points, almost entire, on buying a a gold nugget, so-called small piece of gold. So here it is. I've got just a from one of the famous jewelry shop in Malaysia is Pukong, a jewelry shop. It's specialized in wedding and auspicious jewelries, and they also do customizations with a fee, of course. So they have goldsmith. The most important thing is they have a good quality goldsmith. In Malaysia, we have few major jewelry shops. Pokong is one. The second one, most popular, would be Habib Jewels, if I'm not mistaken. Then we have other brands that is so forth. I mean, I'm talking about local Malaysian jewelry shop brands. So the two major one is Habib Jewels and Pokong. Of course, there are others international like Mikimoto, blah blah blah. They are actually quite big, jewelry shop like Tiffany and so etc. Leaving aside of those international jewelry shops, the local ones do sell gold bars. They do manufacture their own gold and sell it for investors, for anyone, because trading gold is still a very old way of investing. Some people say, why not invest in gold like this in the old fashion? Why not invest in stock markets and so forth? Betting against the hedge, betting against the derivative, variation on the markets and so forth. If for a layman, they don't understand. When they don't understand, how are they have confidence in trading it? So gold, buying and selling gold is very simple, is very understandable, and is internationally recognized that Anywhere in the world, gold is valuable. So it covers everything to the nutshell to any uh, simple investors would consider. So yeah. So what are the basic concepts? So for me, I didn't pay any single cent of this gold. That is why it's just a tiny little one. It's about 1 gram. It's only 1 gram. 999.9 fine gold. Uh, and yeah, it is encapsulated in a security case. It's encapsulated like a banknote would. Encapsulated. It's written here, manufactured by Pocong. Inquiry. This is a web page you can go, and this is a serial number. Now the serial number is correlates with your some kind of security measures. So they have actually have a few variable or few products that sells for investors other than jewelries and so forth. Those are the uniquely normal kind of jewel, but this is to maximize your investment because you're intentionally going to keep it and selling it, or keeping it to keep your value of your money intact you via commodity of gold. The Bunga Raya or the Bunga Raya series, I think in English is called, it's our national flower basically. The hibiscus flower is Malaysia's national flower, so they use it as the series called the Bunga Raya gold bar. So this is one way that they do as investment, pure gold. And using this one, what they told me as I've studied is that you buy the gold from them, you can keep it and you can sell it back to them anytime accordance to the change of the market price of the gold. So if the gold on that day goes high, you get a higher return. If the gold go down, then you lost the profit of what you buy last on the day you purchase it. So for me, my investment on this is zero. I repeat, zero. I didn't pay anything for this. I used my point. Used my point to get this 1 gram of gold. I could get more, but I have to top up my money. So there's no point for me to topping up money because I don't enjoy collecting gold commodities like this and store it. That is why I prefer banknotes, because banknote at least I can view the notes. I can enjoy viewing the notes and learning about the notes history. This one I don't learn much. It's quite simple. I buy this, keeping it, and wait for the time when it is best time to sell it, or when there's emergency where I need cash, I can go to Pocong and sell this one and get money. Now there are two variations of sell as they told me. What are the terms and conditions when you return to Pocong and sell it? There are few criteria. Number one, the entire encapsulation should not be damaged, is in good condition. I don't know how they define in the good condition, but basically they told me is make sure this gold is not out of the casing. Now the serial number, okay, is recorded that this bar serial number is F101543. It will be in their system. Who purchased it will be my name, so they're keeping this in their system in case of someone sells it, someone rob you and then they rob you and they stole this and then they're trying to sell it, because everyone knows that this is Pocong will buy it back for the price of the exchange of that day. But how do we prevent that somebody of robbing the thieves that rob you, stole your gold and then try to sell it? How do we prevent that? So one of it is the serial number. This serial number registered my name, so they know who is the buyer. So the next so-called their condition is actually you need to prove of the purchase. So one of it is you get the certificate, the official certificate, which you can see is registered with the serial number. So if you have the hard copy of the certificate and the gold together, and of course with the identification card when you sell it, then basically they can you get your cash back. Now, in case that you say that this is missing, let's say you this is damaged or unreadable, or you lost in the fire or whatever, okay, then they still have that in the system to record this serial number from the back, and they see what is in their system, and then they still need to identify you and so forth. So that's how it works, basically, of securing the investment. So I don't know how, if they say you give it to somebody and then you want to sell it, and then how will it trigger to exchange, that I would not know actually. So I didn't go further asking that, because there was a lot of people in that fair and there's a line at the back, so I didn't want to waste people's time and so forth. But I'll find out how to exchange if you're missing this, or you give someone else as a payment, or whatever you're going to do is not under your possession anymore, and somebody on the third party, or the person you gave, trying to sell it back to Pokemon. How will it work? That I do not know, to be honest. But what they told me is, make sure this is not damaged, make sure this serial number and this official receipt are the same thing, then they say it's pretty much fine. They say it's pretty much fine for you to return it. So yeah, it's one of my first investment in a gold chip. That is free. I didn't pay anything to start this investment anyway. So yeah. Now, if it's damaged or the encapsulation was open and so forth, then they have two range of the price. If you provided all exactly what they say, you get a highest rate of the day of the payment, the payback. But if it's open or damaged, in bad condition, or missing your official receipt, they will charge you even a lower rate. So that's why this is crucial to them. They told me, make sure this two, the receipt and the gold encapsulation, the encapsulate plastic, is intact, in good condition. So keep it in somewhere good, somewhere it doesn't get damaged, then it'll be fine. So that's one of the way that they advised me. So I think it's very easy, very straightforward. So yeah, that's all that for me that I can talk about investing. So this is my first investment in gold. Now, there are other things that I have invest. Just a short clip, probably 5 or 10 minutes of it. The varieties of collection you can do is probably like what I do is, another one is just trading cards. Trading cards is another option. Like this one, I would say the latest is quite previous series in the Magic of Gathering. This is one of the fetch card. Now what it means they call it fetch card is people are looking for it, are fetching for it. This card's value is very high. I paid to find in the so-called the booster pack, or they call it the draft packs. Draft packs just roughly cost about 30 to 40 ringgit, depends on what series you buy. I got one just for fun, and I pull out this one, Umalaut the Defiler, and they just told me that the fetch card currently in that series was in the modern second modern series is Umalaut the Defiler. Of course, there are a few variations. This is a normal one. Then they have one is a classic one, and one with a holographic one, and one with the extra artistic work, background and artwork. Those vary in prices because of the limitation of its prints. This is one of the common one, and it's already worth more than the card that the pack that I bought It's more than the draft pack, 40 ringgit. I think probably this one I could sell 120 ringgit. It's more than triple my profit. So that's one options you can do. uh, Other than that is stamp collection. One way is one of the most famous way of collecting items is another one for hobby is stamps. Stamps are crucially you can collect in huge quantity of different type of stamp without hurting your wallet. Now, a lot of times when people come say, "Oh, what kind of hobbies do you want to collect?" There's stamp collection, there's postcard collection, and so many collective items, coin collections, I would say. But once you hear banknote collection, it is one of the most expensive hobby. Yeah, that's right. A lot of time people will say it's one of the most expensive hobby. Is collecting old numismatic banknotes or paper money. I understand why it is expensive because we use banknotes as a way of transacting our wealth of our capital, which is in higher denomination compared to coins. Coins is the smallest denomination, and banknotes are considered the highest denominations. So collecting banknotes is relatively expensive because if it's a rare banknote or discontinued banknote and it's very interesting, then people will start trading. One of the good examples that I would say, let me put this back to my proper table position. So for it's called it's like US dollar, the old silver dollars, the old national currency. Even for $1 today, it costs about more than 200 or 300 US dollars. It is so much more expensive compared to some of the countries that had one dinar or one ringgit and so forth, or one pound. It only costs about probably still less than what US value is, because you know to them at that time inflation was much more lower, much more economically powerful, more relevant, and then it reflects to that. One good example way of saying is like comparing Malaysia's ringgit and Singapore dollar in the old days. The if you want to start collecting one Singaporean dollars, the older one, which also discontinued, is not able to use, compared to the one ringgit that is discontinued and that is old, can't be used. When you sell any of them to the Singapore dollar is more expensive than the one ringgit. But why? They're both discontinued, they're both old, they cannot be used. Why makes this one so special? The quantity probably the same, but what makes so special? It's because this $1 at that time has a bigger purchasing power than the one ringgit. So it goes up and up according to its value of the current currency in Singapore dollar. So that is how valuable it becomes. So certain countries that you want to collect, it will be more expensive even if the denomination is small. It's just the intensity for a person to collect a banknote is very high expense in your capital you have. So that's one of the great reason to say that banknote collection is very expensive unless you're collecting banknotes from really really poor or really really destitute countries, like Africa countries. So yeah, then you other than that, if you want to collect some of the very significant country banknotes like United States, Germany, or United Kingdom, that have, then you have a tough luck on paying those banknotes to collect. Another one that's said about is coins. Now I do have coins, but I don't appreciate coins. The problem I don't appreciate coin collection. These are all old Malaysian coin, 50 cents, so 20 cents. and 10 cent. The older one, this already discontinued. The newer ones, they are all Nordic gold, so forth, and they actually uh, don't last. Their luster doesn't last. Then the newer coins, they are much more easily and prone to damages compared to the old age coins, which is much better condition, but they're heavy as hell. Now that shows something. The heavier the coin, the more expensive the material they use. To me, it shows that the economic at that time is much more powerful. The purchasing power of ringgit were much more better. I've heard and just read through the old value of ringgit, Malaysia ringgit. Before 1998, when we had the Asia financial crisis, when Malaysia economy started to go up really, really good, considered as the golden age in Malaysia, $1 is equivalent to nearly close to 2 ringgit and 48 cent, or 2 ringgit and 50 cent. That's just two and a half. It's just one and a half more than the $1. Can you imagine today that we are trading in that currency if we maintain strength in our economy? In Malaysia ringgit, trading at 250 for $1. Today we are looking at it at 450. Last week we were looking at nearly 470. It's nearly doubled because of economic failures and so forth, unproductivity, and the economic move. So it just went down the drain very quickly. So, and once as that time passed, coins will develop more lighter, more less valuable material was used to reflect the purchasing power of the currency. So yeah, the old days the coins were much more bigger and thicker because the value it holds much greater as local currency. So yeah, coins is one of the options for you to collect, I would say. One of the ways to collect is cheap and so forth. Of course, whatever you collect, whether it's banknotes, stamps, trading cards, coins, there's advantages and disadvantages. And the most general view is the variety of collections you can pick that is cheap. You can actually collect small denominations, more mass produced, and it's cheap to purchase and buy without hurting your capital or your wallet. But you can go pro. I would say the word pro by purchasing something more valuable, more expensive. Coins that is, you can see those pro collectors for coins. Coins can actually go up to 100,000 of those millions of US dollars. Like for example, like American Panama gold coins, they can fetch up to 3 to 7 million US dollar because they were extremely rare coins. Collecting gold like this, you can go up to 1 kilo. You want to buy 1 kilo of gold, that's nearly 450,000 ringgit, nearly 500,000 ringgit. But to me, gold is just an investment rather than collections. Some trading cards you can see, like for Magic the Gathering, the most expensive card today is the One Ring, which is a collaboration between Magic Gathering and the copyright of the Lord of the Rings. The One Ring is actually only one card in the world, one card to rule them all. That card was discovered, somebody have it, and then I think it's sold to one of the wrestlers, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot his name. Sold it for about 3 million US dollars. I think so. So 3 million US. I think it can go higher for that card. Can you imagine that? Some other cards that like Pokemon cards, they can go up to $100,000 if it's graded at 10 or graded at 10 or 9.5. You can get to those kind of huge, humongous figures, or it can go only to 10 cent, 5 cent, $1 kind of collection. So there are different price range and collection. So I would tell people, if you want to start collecting, you can collect all the varieties of the smaller denomination first, and then once you are ready, collect the big boy collections. You don't straight away go into big boys. You try to collect the small denomination where you actually can afford, and then when you meet and almost near completion, just left the big ones, the expensive one, I would say. Then you start saving your money, saving your capital, and then bang, find it and purchase it. And that's how hobby works. Some people does that. That's how I do. Or sometimes if you are lucky, and one of the best part of experience of collecting old banknote stamps or what is like going to flea market, or people who really don't know what they want, they just accidentally sold some items that is actually super rare. One great example for me that I've got is this one. This is actually Japanese Empire of Japan. When they start colonizing Hong Kong, Vietnam, or Indochina, they started using this one, this note. And the famous one is because this is the Japanese character for Ro, one, so Ro, and this is called Rogo series. This is very, very limited, and currently with its current condition, I would say like very fine, condition, or to extremely fine condition. This one I believe is worth about 6 to no, I won't say 6, about 7 to 9,000 ringgit. And how much I bought this? For a mere 98 ringgit. I got it for 98 ringgit because the person actually just sold to me was didn't realize the rareness of this note just because of this. Actually, he thought this is number 3, but actually it's not 3. It's actually a Japanese character for Ro. This is only issued in Indochina. When Japan occupied Indochina and colonized Indochina, they issued this note in that area. And yeah, they were quite limited issuance of this note. So that is perceived to be actually more difficult and more rarer than to find. If it's a regular one that is issued for mainland China and also for Hong Kong, those are actually worth no more than 30-40 ringgit. Less than 100 ringgit, I would say. But this one, it can go 4 figures already to nearly 9,000 ringgit. In an uncirculated condition, it can go up to 15 to 16,000 ringgit. Imagine that. Sometimes collecting, for me, this is one of the best experience I got. Finding something super rare, finding something ultimately rare, and when you find something in a flea market or what, and you got it for a fraction of the price, I didn't haggle. I literally just paid a man for his asking price. I didn't haggle with him to get it lower. I don't like to do that, to be honest, because it makes me feel bad to haggle. But yay, it's business. You're trying to make a business, or you're trying to make a deal out of it. I don't like to haggle, and this man is already not knowing what's the value of this note. I did tell them. Well, I didn't tell him about it. Sorry. Yeah, this is the one I did not tell, but I just paid the man for what he asked and leave it be. So yeah, it was very lucky to get this one. To be honest, very, very, very lucky. So sometimes we have notes that we collect is rare. Sometimes is not so rare. And so forth. But the most important thing is you yourself have to determine, is it worth collecting it? Do you feel you want it? Do you need it? Do you want it? It's a few ways that I actually define myself. I saw something I want. Do I want it? Yes, I do want it. But do I need it at this moment of time? Probably no, probably yes. It depends. A lot of time I have to ask that myself because of my limitation of capital at the moment to even do trade. I cannot go deficit myself, so I have to uh, plan my finance more proper. So yeah, one of the good things about collection is able to tell differences, or investing in multiple items. Now, things that I don't like to collect for investment is like plushies and so forth, because they will have a hype. Things that hypes. It has no control sense of items or regulated items. Then there is a point where those becomes worthless. You know, plushies and those hype items like Supremes. Eventually, they will go out of style and then decimate themselves. Whereas banknotes, coins, they're still interesting because it carries monetary value. It was born out of monetary value. Stamps were born out of monetary value. Stamps are used to verify that you paid those the things that you purchase. It's not used to just pay for the stamp. Stamps is not just only paid for you to send your parcels or your mails. It was also used as to identify in your document that you have paid the tax. Certain documents you find in the local councils or what, they'll put a sticker of stamps verifying that you paid this amount of tax, and the stamp is actually validated into the document that's going to stick on, and it's a proof that you have paid. Those days, that's what is the function of stamps. It's a proof of payment. It's somewhat a way of anti-forgery, in a sense, but it's a way of paying a tax. So stamp collections, coin collection, banknote collection, one of the principle of these three things that is still maintaining its value and doesn't drop is not because of the collectors, but it still holds a fundamental value, face value. Banknotes and coins will always hold its face value of, if it's produced as a 10-cent coin, it will maintain 10-cent coin. But because it's stock production and people want to collect, it goes up in value because it's difficult to find. They are no longer produced. Banknotes the same thing. If it's a $100, it's going to maintain $100. And it will not go down. It will go up if the demands are rising. If demands failed, it will go down to its face value. Now, why do I say face value? Because the face value of it is technically a lot of these banknotes is no longer able to use. You can actually go to the central bank or the national bank of the country that is regulating the banknote printing and so forth. They must take back the old banknotes accordingly as its face value, and exchange with the newer notes with $100. But that is the most default setting that you can do for banknotes and coins. But of course, news mostly is impossible. You'll find people doing that unless they really look at money has no value other than its face value. It doesn't have the sense of collector's mindset. Yeah, it does happen. This happens when my late grandmother, before she passed away, she kept the old banknotes. She kept the old Malaysia ringgit, the 1,000 ringgit, which is discontinued and no longer be legal tender in 1999. So she kept that note. Of course, she gave it is after 1999. So you can't use it in commercial bank. You cannot exchange for any goods because it's considered non-legal tender. It's just a worthless paper. But you can actually exchange this. Even today, even till today, the National Bank in Malaysia are still obliged to take back old currencies like the 1000 ringgit and exchange you back with a brand new 1000 ringgit value. Sorry, in denomination, I would say. So exchange in face value of the note. So on my grandmother, before she passed away, she has two pieces of it. One, the piece falls into my hand. At that time, I know the concept of collecting banknote, whilst my cousin, vice versa, didn't thought about that. So he wasn't collecting banknotes. So what he did is he went to the central bank and changed it for exactly for 1000 ringgit note. Whereas if I could have told me, I would have, worst come to worst, I would say, give me that 1000 uh, paper money, and I'll give you equivalent of 1000 brand new legal tender, uh, 1000 ringgit to you. I can exchange that. There's no harm. Well, they didn't approach me. I went to the bank and I went to exchange it and gone case. Because the bank is mostly obliged to burn it and destroy that banknote. Well, making it limited on collectors, so the price might go up because it's harder to find. Yeah. Or if he had the other option that to make more money, he could have sold at $1,000 for 2,000 ringgit. At least you can get 1,500, make extra 500 ringgit. But he didn't thought about that, and just give it to the bank. So it's one of the ways. But at least there is a fundamental default setting. Let's say nobody wants to buy, you desperately needs the money, you can go to the bank and return it. Another problem that I face, another good example that my friend, actually not me, because I'm much more savvy on that, is he had the old US dollar. Now a lot of the money exchange currencies in the town or local areas, they actually had regulated by the central bank, that they are regulated, heavily regulated. So they were always constantly given instructions from other central banks. One good example is the US dollar. The US dollar, they have informed internationally to all banks across the world, central bank that is, and the central bank gives the message to all commercial banks and money exchange companies or traders, that the old US dollars that is before to 1996, at that time is also included the monochrome, actually, before 2006 banknotes. All these banknotes are no longer be able to be traded. The word trade, you're selling it and buying it. So my friend actually had a few of the old 100 US dollars. He actually wanted to get back in ringgit, but the problem is these notes are no longer legal tender by the bank guard, because the instruction was given. So the exchange, the money exchanger, were not legally able to buy that 100 US dollar. No, they are not obliged to. But I had another friend who is going to United States. So I told him, why not you give it to him? He buy it from you for the current rate, and let him have that old note. And since he's going to the US to spend it, now the reason is because specifically in the United States, that United States, all their currencies that they have issued, if I'm not mistaken, since the First World War, all the banknotes are still considered legal tender, including the silver certificate and so forth, they are actually based upon the face value of it. So if $1 silver is considered as $1, is 100 gold dollar is 100 US dollar. So those notes are still considered legal tender even until World War I, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. So all the old notes that he had is still legal tender, so long it is transaction spent in United States. So my friend had the so-called family having a wedding event in Hawaii, so he's going there to celebrate the events, the wedding event. So why not spend the US dollar in the United States? And there's no harm done because it's the old US dollar. You can spend it anywhere. In US, it's still legal tender. But outside the United States, when you want to trade the old US dollar, you can't do that in a commercial bank or any money exchanger. But what you can do is to sell it to collectors. That is one option. The other option is to go back to United States and spend it there. So those are the options. Like for example, like in US, one of the cases that I have, that my friend took that option, you know to have hassle free. Because if you are wanting to sell collectors, the problem is you have to find the collectors who are willing to buy from you, and whether he likes the condition or not, and then he will haggle. One of the biggest thing that the obstacle is that collectors love to haggle for a lower price. I advise a lot of collectors try not to do that. Be reasonable. If that is their offered price or that's their asking price, try to agree to it. Even though like what I had is 98 ringgit, the value is very high. If you want to be very very generous, you might tell him and pay him extra. But never lowball it. If he's asking for that price, he already knew what he wants, and try not to lowball him too low. Maybe you can lowball him probably about 25 to 30%, but anything more than that, I feel that there's a special place for you in hell. According to Dante's Inferno, one of the circles will be greed. Don't try to be greedy. Try to be reasonable. Yes, you wanted to have a lower price because you want to save a little bit more of your capitals for spending other things. You can do that, but always ask not the lowest price you can offer. What is your best price? Some sellers want to maximize their profit, they will put a very high price, but they are always open for negotiation. So always tell them in a good courtesy, as a buyer to the seller, what is your best price. You can gently haggle it to reduce slightly, but don't abuse it to the point where you reduce that until he loses his profit and eating his margin. Remember, they are selling it to make profit. They need to put food on the table for their families. They need to pay tax. They need to pay rental fees and so forth. Think about that. Their car for them to come to you to sell and set up their shops. Think about that. So give them a little a breeding ground. Give them some a fair value, so they can make extra money to pay off the taxes and all they need to do, the expenses. I would just say the expenses. Don't haggle them too low. I find it morally wrong, in my view. And personally, I recording this to tell myself also that don't haggle it too low. And if I could turn that back in time, I would have paid a little bit more extra for the guy who actually sold me that Japanese 10 yen. There's value is 9,000. You can go up to 9,000, and he's selling to you at 98 ringgit. I probably would give him extra 100 or 200 ringgit just to cover him a little bit more extra, so he doesn't lose out so much, and you feel that you're paying a fair value. A way of saying it. So yeah, that's one way of telling it. So anyway, that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. So-called like a podcast kind of thing, listening to a blank space, no animation or so forth. Like like other people who's doing uh, video editing. I don't do video editing. Whatever I record, I just record it live, like almost like live stream and so forth, and then just post it in. It's kind of my online journal on my collection journey. So every time I got something new or something imported into my collection, then I will do a recording. So that I record on that day, I know that what I bought, what I've got, so that it makes it more easier for me. So that's what I do. So anytime I got a new collection, I'll just record it and then post it on the YouTube. So if I don't collect anything, like what happens during this almost 1 week, I didn't do any collection, I didn't get anything new, then everything just my channel will be very quiet. So the next thing that I'm more anticipating is that I actually went through auction a couple of weeks back. Online auction is hosted in Europe. It's called Katz Auction, KATZ, Katz Auction, and Katz Auction actually, I got some of the notes that I wanted and some of the notes that I purely for investment. So that is my biggest anticipation of arrival. I've already paid them. I've already confirmed my payments, and they are preparing to ship it to me. So I'm waiting for it to reach to my home, my destination, and then once I have it, I'm opening up. I will do my review and to present it what I have. Some of them are pretty darn rare based on the catalog book, the standard paper money catalogs. Based on its value, I think it is very surprising for me, and I treat it as investment banknote rather than my personal collection, because there are a few things that it runs in my mind. If that note I've got is super rare or very difficult to find, and I manage to got one of it, my mentality is I have to collect the whole set of that series. Would it be easy? No, it would not be easy. Is it able to find anywhere, other than a very prestigious auction house or even sellers? No, there are no local sellers selling those banknotes, so it will be very time consuming to collect. It will be very laborious task to find it. Sometimes this kind of notes I have to go to China, or the currency that is printed at that time. You have to go to the source of the country. Probably there are antique house selling those banknotes over there. They have much more quantities there. Then you have to consume your time, your resources, and it's quite laborious. So is it worth it for me to collect the whole set? No. So when I had that kind of questions that aren't being answered in my mind, I decided that I bought this for investment, and I'm not going to keep it or attach myself to it. I'm going to sell it to the highest bidder or the highest price that I could get. Currently, I look at it, I bought it for a fraction, probably about 500 ringgit, 600 ringgit, plus commission and the price I pay for the tax and so forth. It will go probably around 700 to 700 ringgit, 800 ringgit. But the value that the book has said is about $1,000. That's about 4,500 ringgit. But that is the old value number. Most of the banknotes of the catalog, I always add another 30%. If I add another 30%, based on all the expenses and calculation, it goes up to 6,000. 5,900 to 6,000 ringgit. So I was thinking of the value is 6,000 ringgit for a purchase price of cost of 800. It's a huge profit, to be honest. So that's what I'm considering on that banknote. So once I got it, I'm presented to the group, you know, to everyone to have a look. What are the banknotes that I bought that is considered investment and my collection, and and considering to sell it if anyone interested to buy from me. Then fair, all fair is fair. But I'm not desperate to have money, because I spend it within my financial capabilities, so I can keep it for a long time, and as the longer I keeping it, the price will go up. So that's all I could say. But rather than talking about this, I'll wait it out until the next once I got it from them, reaching to my home. I'll open it. Probably I'll just do something a little bit like unboxing. Huh? Probably I'll do something unboxing kind of feel. I never tried that. Well, maybe I want to try it because every time I watch a lot of programs there's unboxing. So probably yeah, I'll probably would do unboxing for the next clip once I've got those notes from the auction house from Cat's Auction. Other than that, if there is other videos that I have put up, anything I got new items or what, I'll post it in and then you know let y'all know. So okay, thank you very much. If you like this video, please subscribe. If you want to get notification new videos, do subscribe and so forth. Like it, subscribe. Yeah, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.